Is that firing back by the White House, denouncing that new report that claims President Trump revealed classified information to Russian authorities when they were in his office this week. The Washington Post story cites anonymous officials who the president jeopardized a critical source of intel on ISIS during his meeting with Russia's top diplomat, Sergei Lavrov. National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster says it's simply not true. Here's what he said. Watch.
At no time were intelligence sources or methods discussed, and the president did not disclose any military operations that were not already publicly known. Two other senior officials who were present, including the Secretary of State, remember the meeting the same way and have said so. Their on-the-record accounts should outweigh those of anonymous sources. And I was in the room. It didn't happen.
That's right. Despite McMaster's response, the mainstream media has taken the story and they are running with it. David, what are your thoughts here? I mean, obviously, the mainstream media cannot stand Donald Trump. And you have to question I don't know what to believe.
And the media goes into full meltdown mode when the word Russia is in any way, shape or form involved in the goings-on in the White House or by the White House. I will point one thing out that, and we mentioned this last week, there was no official photograph of this meeting with Lavrov and Ambassador Kislyak. There wasn't a photograph or even a detailed readout of this meeting, and instead we got the photograph from the Russian news agency.
Terrible.
The White House needs to get its hands around, and this was in the middle. This was the day after the Comey firing, which was fouled up from a media perspective, from a communications perspective. I think we can agree with that.
Absolutely.
They've really got to work on getting their house in order in terms of, if they hate the media so much, then do a little bit better job at communicating.
And of course, the Comey firing was all about the Russia investigation, and the very next day to have the Russian ambassador in there.
And he said he didn't care about the optics, but you're right. I mean,
but I think, look, running a business, which I do every day, and what the president did, you make decisions, and so there are all kinds of things going on in a business, and if someone's not doing their job or they're creating a distraction, you do terminate them. So he's running the country like he runs his business, and he is not accustomed to the optics that come along with those circumstances, or he is, but he's ignoring them. But I think also, look, every single thing he does draws tremendous scrutiny, and it's looked at with negative eyes by the Washington Post, by the CNN, by the New York Times, and in part by your paper, The Journal. The reality is that I don't think they could cover every single angle about how the media is going to look at them. Could they have handled the FBI director's firing it differently? Potentially. Yeah. But look, the Democrats were calling for his head, a few months ago.
And so now they want to admit that.
But I think
for the longest time, the president is supposed to set the agenda, right? And he's not said. He needs, the White House needs to come out and say, this is our agenda. We're tackling tax reform. We're doing health care. This is what we're talking about. And we need to see evidence that that's what they're doing. That's how you set the agenda. Not constantly answering and on defenses that you've got to answer questions from the media.
We're a week away from this White House releasing its full budget with economic projections and with tax and spending projections. No one's saying a word about that. It's all about Russia. It's all about Comey. It's all about these other things.
It should be all about the economy. We said that from day one. We said 100%. That in the months leading up to the election, after he won. It should be about getting America really back on its feet and not just walking but running.
So how does he get it? How does he get that story and run with it?
I think you got to give him. Wait a minute. He just got there. He's never been a politician before. So the reality is there's going to be a learning curve. And he's getting a sense of what's going on there. And look, by the way, I'm an Obama supporter and a Democrat. But I know from my experience and relationships with many previous presidents is it takes time to get their footing under them. And so he's doing that. Yeah. And also, look, they'll roll out their budget timely and their forecast timely. They've already told you what they want to do with taxes. And so, look, there's a lot going on. For one president coming in here, there are a lot of different things going on, and they're not focused and myopic like President Obama.
I just want to add, because you say, and I had a conversation over the weekend about this. we talk about he is a businessman. He is running the country like he would run a company. But there's a difference between running a publicly traded company and a private company. You can do a lot if you were the owner and the king and the commander-in-chief of this private organization and you're the main shareholder. When you run a publicly traded company, which the United States of America essentially is, with the American people, those are your stakeholders, those are your shareholders. You are charged with communicating with them. It's part of the job.
And you're in a fishbowl.
Right. You've got to tell them how are you managing their money.
But the country didn't want that person this time around. The country wanted somebody different. They wanted an entrepreneur. They wanted someone who wasn't afraid to shake things up. They wanted someone who wasn't so-called politically correct. So, look, he is who he is. By the way, he is who he is.
Yeah.
He's 70 years old. This is who he's going to be.
Yeah.
He is going to run the country based on his style.
That's the important point is this is who he's going to be. So, we should remember that Bill Clinton stumbled mightily in his first few months in office. He had this travel office scandal. He had all kinds of problems setting his agenda. He started out with gays in the military. People said it should be the economy. He went through a course correction and got his administration working smoothly. The question I think people in Washington are asking is, will Donald Trump ever change? Is this the way he's going to govern for 4 years? And if so, is anything going to get done? I think after everything that's happened, it's a fair question.
I think they're going to get tax reform is coming. They're going to get it done this Congress, most likely before the end of the summer recess. And I think the public is going to be looking for action as opposed to options.
What kind of tax reform is the big question?
Right.
I think one that will deal with corporate taxes, deal with small business taxes, an elimination of the death tax, which is, I believe, always been unconstitutional.
It's horrible. How about the deductions?
Well, I think that the state, I think what's on the line here is the deductibility of state income taxes. The U.S. government and the American people as a whole have been paying for incompetent and inefficient management from places like New York City, California, other high tax states, and states like Florida, Texas, Washington, Oregon, who don't have the state
I've been saying for months that they have a very, very narrow lane to work in Congress when it comes to health care reform and tax reform.
And the Republican leadership is hiding in the corners because they don't know what to do with the White House.
These kinds of distractions don't help when you have such a narrow lane to work in.
Yeah.